Welcome to Introduction to Marketing, Competing in the 21st Century. I'm Professor John Quelch, and I'm going to show you how marketing affects each and every one of us every day of our lives. Most people see only the public face of marketing, the ads and commercials. But I'm going to take you behind the scenes to see what marketing is all about and how it really works. In many industries, just keeping up with changing trends is the most challenging task a marketer has. Nowhere is this more evident than in the world of music. These marketers have made it a priority to keep in contact with their listeners.
I like punk, I like 80s, and I like classic rock, and I like some heavy metal.
I've been listening to music forever, as long as I can remember getting into bands back in the 80s when I was born, and I still listen to those bands now.
I usually like foreign music, and I like a lot of DJs.
I'll listen to classical music a lot.
The most important thing that we could do is to learn about our artist audience instead of pretending to know or guessing or using generic tactics for marketing based on what has been done.
Left Bank Organization is a Los Angeles music company that handles mature artists like Blondie, Meatloaf, and the Bee Gees, as well as newer artists like the Cranberries. To keep up with the fast-paced and unpredictable music industry, Left Bank formed Strategic Record Research, a division that employs tried-and-true consumer research techniques under the direction of Mike Lane.
By really asking the consumers what their purchase habits are, what their likes are, and so forth, and actually to find a fan base for a particular artist, it makes it much easier to market to them.
Strategic research uses 3 basic tactics for gathering information about their market: focus groups, mall interviews called intercepts, and telephone surveys.
And what's the station that you listen to the most?
Every year, Strategic conducts a telephone survey of 10,000 people from various demographics about their music buying habits. This type of survey produces quantitative data.
The difference between quantitative and qualitative data is that quantitative has to be accurate and be able to be matched up to the general population. So what we have is a guideline, which is the Census Bureau statistics of how many people we need in each demographic, which means age, gender, race, geographic location.
Quantitative data is hard data that can be summarized in numbers like percentages, averages, or other statistics. For example, strategic research may learn that 60% of all teenagers buy at least 1 CD a month. This type of data helps marketers gauge the level of market demand for their product and allows them to more successfully target their market.
What quantitative research does for you is help you count. It's a whole set of tools that really help you answer the question, how many? How many people are out there who have a need? How many people out there like one product over another?
You're welcome. Thank you. Hi, I'm Scott with Strategic Record Research.
Mall intercepts and focus groups are examples of qualitative research, which gathers soft data about consumers' opinions, attitudes, and emotions.
When you buy music, generally what type of music do you prefer?
R&B.
R&B? Okay.
The qualitative research helps me determine what are those needs out there that I should be paying attention to? What are those benefits that people are seeking? And that requires really spending a lot of time talking to people rather than counting.
Qualitative is more like the focus groups, the mall intercepts, where you can't really get a group of people that represent a certain type of buyer, but you can get inside, again, you can get inside their head.
We're going to talk about music and your lifestyle as it relates to music.
On this day, Lane is leading a focus group made up of 5 teenagers to find out how they perceive the comeback album of 70s pop star Blondie.
These are the exciting demographics because music is new to them, it's still exciting, and they're developing their taste for the next 20 years.
Usually when I'm driving, I'll turn on the radio because I like the radio a lot because it's a variety of music. It's not just you're listening to your one CD, and it gives you like a chance to like listen to like all the new stuff.
And we like to find out what's in their heads because we're trying to market music to a very active buying consumer.
I haven't had a CD player that long, but I already have close to like 100 CDs.
Teenager, they're very much connected to their music, and the music is who they are.
While you cannot draw strong market demand conclusions from the small samples used in focus groups, by asking open-ended questions, researchers get important insights about their market.
Let's talk to some of those people and see what are they doing every day. What do they care about music? Is it part of their lifestyle? And maybe we can find a few gems that help us market better.
Lane knows that whatever the method or type of data, as information moves faster and faster, market research has to keep up.
Our research has become much more valuable to the industry because it's like this moving target and there's many audiences and you have to constantly keep up with them. So that's one of the things we try to do is try to follow those managers and find out exactly where they're going.
A couple of warnings about market research. First, as we saw at the beginning of the lesson, it's very important not just to commission market research studies, but to actually get out there and smell, feel, and talk to the end consumer yourself. And secondly, don't sit behind your desk looking at screen after screen of market research data and think that it is going to give you the understanding of what the consumer really needs. Because data is data that has been collected on the basis of what someone else thought were the questions that ought to be asked. It will help, but it won't give you the inspiration that you'll get from actually being with consumers themselves. So in the final analysis, it's important for the marketer to have the courage of his own convictions. Market research is a guide, it's a tool, but you shouldn't let your imagination be held hostage in the final analysis to what the market research says. The data that come out of it are only as good as the questions that you ask. There's a famous line in marketing: there are no mature products, only mature managers. The notion being that for any product, however long it's been in the marketplace, there's always room for innovation and creativity. It just requires a manager with a little bit of get up and go to be assigned to the product to revitalize it. In the music industry, it's called a comeback. When the 70s rock group Blondie reformed after 10 years of silence, their management company had to spark the interest of both old and new fans.
The biggest challenge is taking an artist whose music has made a difference, but who have not been in the limelight or in front of people, or whose music or new music hasn't been presented on the radio or at the record store or in concert for 12 years, and make people realize what's special about the artist and also what's special about the new project.
This story begins back in 1974, when Blondie played its first gig at CBGB's in New York, and quickly became one of the leading bands of the new wave punk era. Over the next few years, Blondie launched several #1 singles. But after 7 records and 10 years together, the band split up, and lead singer Deborah Harry launched a solo career.
Every single show somebody would say, well, what about Blondie? Is Blondie going to get back together?
There was so much desire coming from the general public to see us doing what we do so well.
Which is this.
So they approached us and said, look, we'd like to put out another record, but we really want someone to focus the audience on this project. We don't want to be thrown out, sort of against a brick wall. We want some thought and long-term planning.
With music, you have your one shot to make it happen, and you have to do it all at one time, and if things don't go right, then it's kind of over. So you have to make sure everything you do is right on target.
After more than 10 years apart,
she moves like she don't care.
The band felt there was new musical territory they wanted to cover together. The band re-entered the studio to make a new record, leaving the marketing strategy to their manager, Ed Thomas.
With an established artist, you have a history which gives you a start out of the blocks. You have an audience base that already exists.
To reach that audience, Thomas engineered a 3-part marketing plan intended to generate sales of this mature product.
Phase 1 with Blondie was an awareness phase. This was done 3 to 5 months before the album was actually in store. And what we wanted to do was, through some print journals, through magazine articles, through newspaper pieces, and even some television pieces, is to present to the audience exactly what Blondie had actually accomplished over time. Their music, their relevance with culture, fashion, with lifestyle.
Funds are very limited to promote an artist, so they have to use their promotional expertise much more than their advertising expertise. They can't rely on the advertising. The other thing, too, is, of course, part of the promotion is radio, and they have to be able to get the record on radio stations to get that airplay, because that's still the biggest source of awareness for consumers.
The next phase was of what we'll call phase 2, which was the launch phase of the project. And when I say launch, I mean the launch of a single to radio, which usually happens before an album is released into the marketplace.
We're trying to fuse our alliance with the rap movement on the AMAs. We're going to be doing our feeble attempt at white bread rap.
Phase 2 was kicked off with Blondie's first live performance on ABC's American Music Awards. It was a cross-promotion strategy that focused audience attention both on ABC and Blondie.
When you least expect it, you understand there is no exception.
I mean, I just give her respect for being like one of the first white girls to be out there rapping.
She was one of the first rappers that was really popular, and you know, I don't know if people really realize that.
And I think we created a very aggressive tune-in campaign where a lot of the music public, or the music listening public, knew that Blondie was going to be doing their first performance in the American Music Awards. Phase 3, which we'll call the sustenance phase, or the growth phase of a record, was also impacted by touring and the band's first ever U.S. tour.
The band's artistry and hard work, combined with Left Bank's aggressive marketing strategy, paid off. The single Maria went #1 in over 13 countries, and the new album No Exit sold over 2 million copies in the first year.
We felt that if we were able to present great new music for an artist who mattered, an artist who culturally really did make a difference, and we did it in ways that were a little bit non-traditional and were aggressive, that we'd be able to make people feel the way about Blondie the way they had, let's say, in 78, 79, or 80.
Some of the songs are very sophisticated, some of the songs are very musical, and some of them are simple and straight ahead, you know, balls to the wall Blondie.
We got that hemodynamic connection, and don't call me jerk.
Whether it's rock and roll or a classic toy like the Frisbee, when a product reaches its maturity, it's up to the marketers to inject it with new energy and vitality to keep buyers interested.